So we're outside of we're outside of Fouke, and we're along Highway 71, and that's the interstate on the other side, I think, or maybe it's just the other lane. I don't know. But there's Highway 71 over there, and then this is the entry point to the Sulfur River. And if you look over here, you'll see the river. Ugh. Still smells fishy. Somebody left their fish there or something. So this is the Sulfur River. This is where there's been a lot of sightings of the Fouke monster along this waterway in particular. There's a lot going on in Mercer Bayou and Boggy Creek as well. But if you come over here, you can look at, you'll see some marshy type environment. I don't know if this is part of the bayou or what it is, but there's just some muck down there. And it goes all the way, it's actually all the way over here too. See, now I came into Fouke at nighttime, so I didn't really get to survey the landscape, and I don't really know what kind of environment we are in. I don't know if this is going to be like a Everglades type wetland, or if it's going to be more of a upland type area with kind of large deposits of water such as this. So there's a pretty swampy scene there. You know, I haven't seen any alligators, but still gonna keep an eye out. It's kind of chilly at night, but during the day, you know, I'm still seeing turtles and frogs in the Memphis, Tennessee area when we were at Hatchie Wildlife. So that was just a little note that I took in my brain that it's not too cold for reptiles. And honestly, I mean, alligators are, I think they're big enough to where they can't, they enter like a dormant state, but they don't really like hibernate. They don't like dig under the ground. So alligators actually, they're kind of exposed, and if it gets cold, I think that's then they're subject to be affected by it. So I don't know what the alligators population is like here, but I don't know, man. There's a lot to think about today. So I don't know if I want to drive around Fouke and have a look-see. I got to see how far I am from my friend's house, family that I'm visiting, and I don't know. I'd like to get over there today, but I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to go about this expedition, because I had planned to visit them and do the Jefferson thing, do the Bigfoot conference, and then on the way back do Fouke. But now I'm tempted to kind of spend a little time getting more acquainted with Fouke before revisiting it on the way back. So at least then I'll have a good geographical understanding of the area, and my efforts would be a lot more smoother once I did some stuff. So I would sit down and spend the first 5 days of it here, but I think it's valuable to go and listen to Lyle Blackburn talk about recent sightings and things at the Bigfoot conference, because his specialty is on the Fouke monster. So if he talks about that with and I'm at the conference, then I'll have a good lead and a good understanding where recent sightings have occurred, and then potentially investigate them after the conference and everything is up. So I do want to come back here after I've learned what I've learned at the conference, but I don't know, there's so much in this area. You know, I've got 2 weeks, and that seems like plenty of time, But when you're investigating a large plot of private property that's mostly wooded, and you want to set up trail cams and stuff, and then at the same time you want to explore a section of the Ouachitas, and you want to check out Boggy Creek and Caddo Lake and areas in Texas and areas in Arkansas, there's really a lot going on. I mean, I could spend a whole month out here and still feel like there's more that I could do. So trying to get in here and do it in a little over 2 weeks, taking into account that I also have to drive back home, and that takes a good solid day. And even then, I don't feel right about pushing the vehicle that much. I was surprised I ended up doing as much as I did yesterday in driving. But I just woke up today. I was tired. Man, that long drive. And I did a lot. Went to a wildlife refuge, went to a national park, and then made it to the first location on our map where the Falk Monster is said to roam. So I mean, early start and late finish. And here I am now, back up, ready for round 2. But there's a lot going on, and limited time. So we do have 2 whole weeks. We'll undoubtedly experience some cool things. Just looking back at yesterday and how well it went. I mean, I expect a lot of other days like that. The adventure, the story is unfolding, but at the same time, I look at the whole thing and I just say there's so much to do, or so much we can do, and undoubtedly there's so much that we're not going to get the opportunity to do. So I think that this type of trip, this Texas and Arkansas trip, this might be something to revisit. Already, I've made up in my mind that this might be something to revisit, because I'm not going to Sam Houston National Forest, and that's one of the most concentrated areas in Texas where Bigfoot sightings are. So I look at Sam Houston National Forest and I say, another day. I look at sections of the Ouachitas and I say, another day. But if I can get into the Ouachitas and spend an overnight in an area where there have been a handful of sightings, if I can go to the Bigfoot conference and enjoy that, and talk to some of these experts in the field and get more acquainted with the community, then that'll be great. And then if I can hang out in Falk and be creeped out by the nasty swamp water and things sloshing around in it, then I think I can get my Bigfoot fix for a little while. But I don't know. It's different because I've never really considered the Midwest until recently. I always thought Everglades. I always thought Northern California, Pacific Northwest. And just within the last 2 years, I just realized that there were a huge horde of reports just storming the gates. There's tons of activity in Arkansas and in Texas, and I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out why, but I mean, it makes sense that you have the Ouachitas, and it makes sense that these swampy environments also in Arkansas here. But as I go along and as I look at this landscape, and as I come to learn about it, I do hope something happens. I hope something occurs to keep me not just interested in this particular expedition, but keep me interested in Bigfoot, because honestly, I didn't have a whole lot happen that really convinced me of anything when I was in the Everglades. And here and there, I might have heard some alleged tree knocks at Mammoth Cave or something, but I don't know. I really like, I'm at that point in my life where I've been committed to Bigfoot for over a decade, and I'd really like to have something solid to hold on to cling on to, an experience that just froze me in my tracks and said, whoa, this is a special moment, But everything that's ever happened to me, I've been able to chalk up as, well, it could have been another animal, or it could have been something else. just last night, I woke up hearing a strange sound, and I was like, what is this? What is this? I'm trying to wake up and process the noise. And as I started to get awareness, as I started to waken up a little bit, I realized it was a coyote. And it was unusual because at the same time, this coyote started howling. Other coyotes joined in, which is expected. But in the confusion, a barred owl started doing his hoots. So you got owls and coyotes all in a mixed conglomerate of just noise. And that was weird because it's such a noisy interstate or a noisy highway that during most hours of the night it was creating some type of noise. But within like the couple of minutes where there's not a lot of traffic, within the broken up hour where most people are not working or commuting to or from work, there were a few animals to start making noises. But I don't know. I'd really like to hear something. I'd really like to hear a scream that isn't 2 miles away, that is up close and personal, and that honestly I want to get my heart rate up because I want to have something happen that I can't explain. But until that moment comes, I just out here following whatever leads I can. These fields out here with the forest on the edge, they remind me of scenes from the movie Boggy Creek. It just like in the beginning where this kid is like running into town to tell some townsfolk that his mom saw the creature. It's just the sign, like just the way that the scenery is. It looks a lot like the scenes from the movie. It's just kind of cool to look at that. Right now, I took a road with a sign on it that pointed to Mercer Bayou. Hopefully, I can find Mercer Bayou. It said it's a public fishing area. I don't know. We'll see what it's like when I get down there. Yeah, I was just looking and thinking of the old 1972 film as I'm going across the landscape. I just drove by one of the Crabtree's properties. Crabtrees are they have been in this area for a long time, but it was Smokey Crabtree that kind of showed director Charles Pierce in the area. Showed him a lot of the spots around Falk where the monster had been seen, and kind of was there as the film was being made. And after Charles Pierce kind of benefited heavily from this, and even though the community was heavily involved with the making of his masterpiece, he never gave them the recognition, nor did he give them adequate payoff for the work that they put into the project. And Smokey, he felt compelled to do everything he could to make up for Pierce's lack of responsibility. And what he did was he wrote a book, and I believe that the funds that he made off of that book, he would invest back into the community. And he passed away earlier this year. Smokey did. So unfortunately, I'll never get to have a conversation with the guy, but his family, his descendants are still in the area. I don't know. I don't know if I'll get to meet one of them or talk to them or what, but I might see some of them at the Bigfoot conference. But Smokey was kind of into the subject more than other members of his family, and I don't remember or recall if other Crabtrees had encounters. I know that in Pierce's film, he did follow a couple of members of the Crabtree family and depicted them in the movie, but I can't remember off the top of my head if any of them had additional Bigfoot encounters. So, there was a sign for Mercer's Bayou, but then there was only one sign, and there's all these different splits. So, I don't know where it is at this point. It's extremely confusing back here. There are all these dirt roads, and they're labeled by numbers. I've never really seen navigation like this. Bandit, come here. And I ended up like on this road. It's called, they marked them as roads. But they, come here, Bandit. Come here. You know, this says private property. Hold on a second. Very disorienting back here. The roads become more narrow. They become dirt paths. They go from paved to gravel to dirt. They're all different numbers, and they shoot off on different, like you go half a mile and then it splits off and there's another highway. I've never seen such a network of kind of like little micro roads all interwoven together. And I mean, that gives you a good opportunity to get deep in the woods, but it makes it that much harder to get out again. So I don't feel, yeah, see, this ends up in private property, this road, which I had no idea. And because of that, you know, I parked my truck back here, so I'll turn around and head back out and get back on the paved road, and I don't know, maybe head back into town. But I think just getting down to Texas is what I should do, and then revisit Falk when I can get online and print out some maps and some additional guides and stuff like that. So this is definitely, as I was making this descent into the woods, I was trying to find the bayou by going downhill. I figured that's how, you know, that's where you'd find all that collected water and stuff like that, is just going at a lower elevation. But there are a few hills here, so that could be, you could be thinking you're going down an elevation, and then the hill just over the ridge takes you back up. So it's pretty hard to get a bearing out here without map and compass, without detailed information about this area. And there are public access areas. I think I'm on some private roads or something like that, so need to be more familiar with public access and more familiar with where these sightings are taking place. Let's see this right here. This is where I would expect sightings. Oh, this is thick woods. And the only question is where is the water in this area? Because if it's a dry spot, there wouldn't be any type of animal out here, I don't think. But if it had that water source nearby, this would be perfect. Secluded, quiet property. So we're outside the Monster Mart in Falk, and it's about 11:30, and we still haven't started making our way down to Texas yet. But I have to get a hold of the Orr family before I do. But, talking to the owners of this establishment, we had quite a long discussion about the Ford incident and some of the other things going on in more recent history. Said that there had been an incident. A guy heading down to Louisiana had seen something while driving down the road. And I think it was during the day, daytime sighting while going down 71. And he didn't say anything to anybody here in town, but he told somebody when they got down to Louisiana, and someone else, the person that he told, got a hold of this place. I think they came back up and reported the incident on his behalf. That was about 3 weeks ago, as recent as 3 weeks ago. And then 3 months ago, I believe, is what they told me, the paper lady, the mail lady, was, I guess what she did, she threw the paper, the daily paper. Early in the morning, she was throwing papers out, probably about 4 a.m., I think, is what they said. And something ran right in front of her vehicle and just crossed and then into the woods. And she said that it was just incredibly fast, and that whatever it was big. And they started telling me about just behind the mart there, around where Boggy Creek is. There have been a couple of individuals to report multiple. So a big and a small one, and then somebody else in a different location said that they'd seen a dark brown one and a light brown one. But the Monster Mart is a pretty cool place. It's got a lot of little displays and original artwork in there. A lot of souvenirs. I think I got like about $50 worth of souvenirs here, which I expected, you know, but they had some really neat stuff in there. And they're actually trying to fix up the place. I was talking in there for quite some time, and they have plans to clear out an empty space that they have in the back, kind of as using as a storage area, but they really want to present it as a almost like a little museum booth, a little exhibit with where they play Bigfoot films in the back, and then they have a little fog machine, you know, creating an atmosphere, and like a photo area to where you can get a picture with the monster and all that. And, it's really neat, you know, and it was one of the things the guy talked to me about, how it really cost him an arm and a leg, but he found it important to have a central point where people can come and learn about what's going on, you know. And effectively, he kind of created an experience and kind of a starting point and home base for the monster hunters coming into Arkansas looking for the creature. So we talked a little bit about what we think, you know, how many there might be, and why they move around and things like that. And had some just good discussion, really great discussion. This guy about the subject. And I'll be going down to Texas, but I'll be popping back up in Falk later in the trip, and I don't know, we'll have some exchange of words. Then, I don't know, might dig deeper into this subject. But I got a map, though. I got a county map, so that's going to help figure out what some of the landmarks that I'm trying to get to, where they are, get along the river. Big old logging truck. But he did talk to me about some guys that were kind of out here, kind of like what I'm doing, some big old boys that came out looking for the beast, you know, while they're on vacation. And they took them about a mile up the river in a canoe or something. And up on the ridge, they said they saw large glowing eyes that they thought were 9 inches apart. So, I don't know. Sounds pretty creepy. 9 inches, I mean, like, my pinky and my thumb is probably about 7. So, I mean, 9 inches apart, that's a big animal. He might have exaggerated, that's what he said. But, those guys are pretty convinced that they saw what they came here to see. I think that report was a couple of years back. This is one thing that I'm realizing is here Bigfoot is just very matter of fact, very serious. You know, there's something here to it all, to the movie, to the hunters coming in and checking everything out. There's still something here. It's still very relevant, and it's still modern. And I heard a little bit about, there's some rumors that they dropped on me about Lyle Blackburn getting ready to publish a continuation of his Beast of Boggy Creek book. He's getting ready to come out with an updated extension. So, I don't know. It seems like that this is an area that's really active right now. The Midwest is on fire with modern reports. I still think the Pacific Northwest is very yielding. You know, there's got to be some stuff still going on in the Everglades and stuff, but this place is on fire right now with activity. And I think I'm in the right spot. But I'm going to go down to Texas. I'm going to see my friends. I'm going to go to the conference. And then we're going to dig deep. Dig deep in the Falk area around Boggy Creek and the Sulfur River. And we're going to dig deep in the other aspect of this, and that's the mountain environment, the Ouachitas. So I hope I can find time to do everything. But yeah, we'll see.